Hey everyone, my name is Wedge and welcome back to our Best of the Rest series where we talk about all the awesomeness from Hour of Devastation that we haven't already covered. In this episode, we'll be blowing through the rest of the blue cards, talking about Commander, Limited, and everything else under the sun that matters. We'll also be including major cards from last week that we didn't get to preview. Do hope you enjoyed the video, and if you do, remember to hit that like button, helps out a lot. Arial Guide is 3 mana for a 2/2 Drake with flying. Whenever it attacks, another target attacking creature gains flying until end of turn. Decent limited creature, you'll absolutely play this, especially in multicolored decks where your non-blue creatures don't have the gift of flying as much. And the trigger's super easy to activate. It's a solid limited card, nothing more to say than that, it's good stuff. Avon Reed Stalker, love this artwork by the way, is 4 mana for a 2/3 flyer with flash and flying. It's basically Nephalia Seakite, which means that it's a perfectly fine limited card. Flash is supremely powerful, and having that instant speed, flexibility, and increased toughness, aces. Pick these mid-pack in your drafts if you can, they're quite good. Champion of Wits, great name, is 3 mana for a 2/1 Naga Wizard with Eternalize costing a whopping 7 mana. When it enters the battlefield, you may draw cards equal to its power. If you do, discard 2 cards. Oh, I get why Eternalize on this is so expensive. You play it out naturally, you get a 3 mana 2/1, and you get to filter 2 cards. There are worse cards out there. When you Eternalize it, not only are you getting your 4/4, but you get to draw 4, discard 2. Champion of Wits is a super bomb from the graveyard and pretty decent from your hand the first time around. I will absolutely play this. Strong rare, not the best in the set by any means, but definitely quite good. Countervailing Winds is 3 mana for an instant with cycling costing 2 mana. Counter target spell unless its controller pays 1 for each card in your graveyard. I actually really like this counterspell. It's flexible, and that's all I've ever wanted from these cards if they refuse to reprint counterspell. Being able to cycle this in the early game if you have nothing in your yard, or the late game if your opponent has too much mana, that's valuable. Knowing at any moment you can trade this for another card if the possible success rate is low is useful. I probably wouldn't main deck this card, but it's a nice sideboard piece against a deck with just crazy bombs you have to stop. Cunning Survivor is 2 mana for a 1/3 Human Warrior. Whenever you cycle or discard a card, it gets +1/+0 until end of turn and can't be blocked. Full disclosure, I don't actually like 1/3s for 2 all that much, and this doesn't impress me enough to change my mind. Of course there is synergy in a cycling or discard based deck, but even then it's just not impactful enough to warrant a spot unless you really need an early drop. I'll pass on this one. Eternal of Harsh Truths is 3 mana for a 1/3 Zombie Cleric with Afflict 2. Whenever it attacks and isn't blocked, draw a card. Well, isn't this dude just a bunch of fun? A 1/3 that shocks whenever it's blocked or gives you a card whenever it's not? Either way, you want to be attacking with this. Playing the Eternal in a deck with combat tricks, aces, enchantments to give it flying, super aces. Solid creature, just need to get it through. Or not. Being shocked over and over again, it doesn't feel good. Trust me, I've been there. Hour of Eternity is double X and triple blue for a sorcery. Exile X target creature cards from your graveyard for each card exiled this way. Create a token that's a copy of that card except it's a 4/4 black zombie. I mean, the card has a really strong ability that could be super cool in either limited or commander, maybe even standard, but having double X in the cost just seems like overkill. You're already paying triple blue, and 1 for each creature you're targeting, and they have to be in your own graveyard, and you have to exile them. That second X is just, it's savage. 5 mana, 3 of that being blue to get a single 4/4? Come on, it's just too much. Sorry, I can't see myself getting behind this one, just no. Imaginary Threats is 2 of anything and 2 blue for an instant with cycling costing 2 of anything. Creatures target opponent controls attack this turn if able. During that player's next untap step, creatures they control don't untap. Now this is an interesting card. In an aggressive deck, you can force your opponent to drop all their shields by alpha swinging at you. Then you can go crazy on the crackback, then you get another turn because they don't untap. Powerful effect, and if you end up not needing it, you can cycle it away. There's lots of flexibility here. You can even use it to simply stop their untap, not even care about the attacking. I would only main deck this in fast decks that wouldn't be too hurt by taking an alpha swing. I enjoy the design on it, big fan. Kefnet's Last Word is 2 of anything and 2 blue for a sorcery. Gain control of target artifact, creature, or enchantment. Lands you control don't untap during your next untap step. This last cycle, it's a bit brutal, hard to evaluate. You have to decide how much time walking yourself is worth. This is a bit more wide-reaching than Control Magic at the same cost, and you don't get your next turn, and it's a sorcery and not instant speed, so you have to hope that what you're taking changes the tempo in the game enough that you won't immediately lose it when you lose your turn. This is a big oh crap button, but nothing else. Also, weird forced perspective. His hand is absurdly huge. Ominous Sphinx is 3 of anything and 2 blue for a 4/4 Sphinx with flying. Whenever you cycle or discard a card, target creature an opponent controls gets -2/-0 until end of turn. Honestly, ignore the trigger, this is still real good. You will play a 5-mana 4/4 flyer with no downside every time, no questions asked. It's very good on its own. That cycle discard trigger, pure 100% gravy. First pickable as a beater, for sure, 10 out of 10 unlimited. Proven Combatant is 1 mana for a 1/1 human warrior with Eternalize costing 6 mana. I mean, it's a 1/1 that becomes a 4/4 later on. Hilariously, while I would never play a 1 mana 1/1 that does nothing on entry or exit from the battlefield, this one is interesting. You get some late game value, the only problem is you have to live long enough to get there. In a deck where you might have to discard some cards, this could be sweet. Discard it early, get it back later as a relatively free 4/4. It's difficult to analyze this card properly. I want to say it's okay, but I'm leaning towards the high to middle end of not good, if that makes sense. I won't be prioritizing this ever, even if my heart enjoys it. Brittle Form is 2 mana for an enchantment. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you may have Brittle Form become a 3/3 Sphinx creature with flying in addition to its other types until end of turn. You can also pay 3 to scry 1. Alright, I know I'm not the only one excited about this card. This thing is actually pretty friggin' good. Being able to turn to a 3/3 flyer to attack on turn 3, that's so strong. And if you're running a deck that relies on non-creature spells, this is going to get in for a ton of free damage, and it dodges sorcery speed removal, and it has a relevant mana sink ability. Against any type of deck that isn't super insanely aggressive, Brittle Form is strong. I love this card. Seer of the Last Tomorrow, great name, is 3 mana for a 1/4 Naga Cleric. You can pay 1 blue, tap it, and discard a card to have target player put the top 3 cards of their library into their graveyard. Oh, that's it? I expected more from a card with such a cool name. I don't like this much at all. Discarding cards can have synergies, but you need a lot of cards you're okay with discarding or milling, and you'd have to do all of this while not dying to your opponent's board. I'm not a fan. I'm truly not a fan. I get the synergy, but just no. Sinuous Striker is 3 mana for a 2/2 Naga Warrior with Eternalize costing 3 of anything, 2 blue, and discarding a card. You can pay 1 blue and it gets +1/-1 until end of turn. I love this design. Now, it's a bit worse on first cast than something like Watercourser was. Missing that 3rd toughness is brutal, but it makes up for it with Eternalize. Coming back as a 4/4 with an ability like that, quite powerful. All of the Eternalize synergy we've seen thus far directly relates to the power or toughness of the new 4/4 as it enters the battlefield for the presumed second time. But this one's different. It gives more combat flexibility to the zombie Naga. Instead of a 3/1, you can make that 4/4 a 7/1. Flexibility is the name of the game here, and while you do have to discard a card, you're getting a powerful creature back. I love this. Spellweaver Eternal is 2 mana for a 2/1 zombie Naga Wizard with prowess and afflict 2. Well, hello there, outrageously powerful common. This thing is ridiculous. 2 mana for a 2/1 with double upside. This thing is just loaded with bells and whistles, and they're all great. I will run this in every blue deck I draft, no matter what. Put me in, coach. I need some of that zombie Naga Wizard action. Strategic Planning is 2 mana for a sorcery. Look at the top 3 cards of your library, put 1 of them into your hand and the rest into your graveyard. Another filler card. I like the artwork. It's Jason Gideon trying to figure out how to stop making stupid decisions. Can't imagine that'll go well. But the card's playability? It is an instant speed, basically a worse Anticipate. It does send things to your graveyard, so if you have enough graveyard synergy, it could be okay. It's still nothing to write home about. No. Striped River Winder is 7 mana for a 5/5 Serpent with Hexproof and cycling costing 1 blue mana. Okay, you all know how I feel about Hexproof. Hexproof is crazy broken, I hate it on everything. And this comes with a cheap cycling cost for early game loots. I'm not going to first pick this thing, but I know when it's played against me, I'm gonna be real mad. I'm biased because I hate Hexproof, but this beast, that cycling and Hexproof, it makes it decent. It's real decent. Unquenchable Thirst is 2 mana for an enchant creature aura. When it enters the battlefield, if you control a desert or there is a desert card in your graveyard, tap enchanted creature. Enchanted creature doesn't untap during its controller's untap step. I think it's pretty neat that with a desert, this automatically taps the creature. I enjoy the playability and flavor behind that. But even without it, this is pseudo removal. They attack or activate a tap ability one time, done. Paralyzing Grasp was good in limited, Claustrophobia, real good, and this is only 2 mana. I'll be looking for a few of these in draft for sure. Tragic Lesson, my goodness. Tragic Lesson is 3 mana for an instant, draw 2 cards, then discard a card. Unless you return a land you control to its owner's hand. Let's just look at this card for a second, the art. We're going to get into all the lore real soon, but just, this is truly brutal. My goodness. Wow, I'm real sad right now. We need to move on to the next card. Where's the ESRB rating on this thing? Wow. Vizier of the Anointed is 4 mana for a 2/4 human cleric. When it enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a creature card with Eternalize or Embalm, put that card into your graveyard, then shuffle your library. Whenever you activate an Eternalize or Embalm ability, draw a card. Well, hello there, Eternalized Tribal Cleric guy. I love this card. If you get a super huge Embalm or Eternalized Bomb, this is a great graveyard tutor. And at 2/4, it's basically a giant spider without reach. It'll do its job on the ground, and when you ultimately use that Eternalize or Embalm ability, you get to draw a card. This isn't going to be amazing in every blue deck, but if you're running a deck with a non-zero amount of graveyard zombie production, this gets progressively more attractive. It's very good design. So what do you think about the rest of the blue cards in Hour of Devastation? Do these stick out to you as being particularly better than the white cards? We're moving through the colors fast, so any ideas you have, suggestions, comments, questions, anything you notice about blue, let's chat about it. Personally, I think we have some solid control elements and really well-designed cards, mixed with some subpar counter magic and boring creatures. Really a balance of good and bad. Be sure to keep your eyes peeled for the rest of the Best of the Rest series, and then our pre-release guide that's going to tell you everything you need to know about the Hour of Devastation pre-release. And as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. This video is brought to you in part by TCGplayer.com. As we sit here and breathe, you can pre-order boxes of Hour of Devastation for $88 each. That's insanity. It's below $90 each. Come on. How is that not the deal of a lifetime? If you don't have a local game store or yours is charging way too much, we got you right here, super cheap. So just click the link on the screen to pre-order. Everyone's going to be happy. We'll all hug and whatnot. It'll be great. Enjoy.
What?